last chance to get into the postseason.
Yeah, he made that clear. They know what they have to do. They've known, he said, since the Carolina game. We knew there wasn't a lot of opportunity to not get results.
Here we go. From Cobb Stadium in the 305. It's the Hurricanes. White tops, green bottoms, Wake. Black tops, black bottoms. And a Wake Forest team, again, that has won three straight results and has not lost since a defeat earlier in October to the Pitt Panthers. They lost that one 4-1, coming off of a really good performance against Louisville. A 1-0 win on Sunday at home. Zara Shavoshi in the 29th minute. Just a delightful shot from a free kick right outside the box. That's all the Deacs would need, and they keep themselves in plenty of pace, plenty of opportunity. And this is what they do, is they love to press, possess, as that's a pretty good cross. Klein called into action early, makes the grab.
It's early on, but that's also really important for Klein because Wake had time on the ball. Miami has numbers in behind. We're going to see that continue all game. But she's put under pressure early. It's not the best shot, but for Klein to get her hands on that ball and now to be able to play out is really important early on.
Here's a touch from number 30 on your screen, Anna Swanson, playing in the midfield. Just start here. Morgan, how do you want to see this Wake team attack this Miami defense?
They have to be able to find balance in their attack. And what that comes down to is being able to play out like they like to, play through the middle, find the ball wide, and really build up in possession. But at times they're going to have to go direct. And it sounds difficult to do, and it will be difficult to do because when you play direct, there's not a lot of space in behind. This field is also very narrow, but they're going to have to be able to switch it up and find balance. When they do that, it goes with the second key. They got to move the ball quickly. Miami will close the space fast. Like I said, this field is narrow, it is small, so they'll send numbers. They have to get there. And on the other side for Miami, they have to defend as a unit. Use that field, use the ability to come as a unit and trap Wake Forest where they can. That's a goal for them. And then also be effective in transition. When they win the ball, be smart, know where they're going with it, and then be able to get that ball where it needs to go. So they have to be clean, but they have to be very effective when they win in transition.
It's a Miami team, Morgan, that hasn't won a game in 6 straight. They do have more ACC victories this season than they did in each of the last 3 seasons, tying last year with 2 of them. Big moments on the year. Knocking off Cuse, it was their first opening ACC win since 2011. They win a thriller against Louisville, 1-0 at the death on a goal from Reese Wheeler. That provided some hope for the Hurricane faithful and for the team, but injuries have really taken its toll on Sarah Barnes and Miami in her 6th season. They just haven't been able to recover. And you think about names that started the year and looking pretty good, and you get a look at Sarah Barnes there, but a Gianna Angelillo, a Katarina Molina, 2 players that are young and that have provided a lot of sparks for Miami. They go down in the middle of the season. They haven't really recovered, Morgan, but they're staying committed to a game plan. They're still playing hard here towards the end of the year as well.
Talking with Sarah Barnes over the years, I've had the ability to chat with her a few times and call a bunch of their games. This Miami team is so committed, and that is something that is ingrained in their culture. And she spoke really highly of this senior class and how they've been a big part of that and creating that with this program, because it's always difficult when players, whether you're expecting them to have significant minutes or they just play really impactful roles, go down with injuries. It's really tough to overcome that. All teams deal with it, but the impact can be felt differently depending on just the role that they play. But I'm not surprised that they've continued to fight through, because that really is part of their culture, and you have to credit that to the senior class that has come through and really changed that bit when it comes to just the Canes program as a whole.
Yeah, 3-0 defeat to Virginia Tech over the weekend in Blacksburg. Miami battled. They went down with a red card towards the end of that first half. Hallie Salas going into the book and getting sent off as this ball through. Pretty good Hanks on the run. How about Klein looking comfortable in net, sliding up to make that wrap.
And this is a way that they can play direct. It's Nikki Small on the ball. She's so good on the dribble. You see how she draws her defender centrally, and then she's able to spring that one through. Unable to get there is Hanks, but she's in the right place. That's how they can find that balance, right? She pulls her defenders, and then it's a quick spring through, but well done from Klein to come off her line quickly.
Kaya Hanks time for the team lead in goals. The Hawaiian, the sophomore, who battled an ankle injury a couple of games ago, practiced earlier this week, felt good enough to give it another full effort. We'll see if she can go 90 minutes. Perhaps not. Keep an eye on Emily Morris to come in pretty early in this game. But this is an important one for a Wake Forest team. 9 wins. They've only lost twice all season. It's those 5 draws, especially in ACC play. They haven't figured out quite how to put away some of these, you want to say, lower in the standings teams, right? And they drop points to Cuse. They drop points to NC State. And Tony DeLue said, hey, look, we put ourselves in this position. We've underachieved just a little bit, but if we can win tonight and we can find our way into the ACC championship, maybe we have the opportunity there to knock off one of the favorites in the league and get ourselves back into the right side of the NCAA championship picture.
And that's what's tough for Wake Forest right now, too, because they're on the brink. They know if they win, they're in that ACC tournament, but they're still very much borderline or most likely not making it into the NCAA tournament unless they get some good results, sitting at 82 with RPI.
Nice catch there by Klein, and you mentioned that RPI, Morgan. I mean, it was at 68 just 7 days ago, and the results of the last couple of matches have put them in a precarious situation. They need wins, and it's going to start with tonight. They probably need to win at least that quarterfinal matchup on Sunday against whoever they end up playing. It's going to be a top-ranked opponent with a great RPI. The pressure's on Wake, but it starts with this evening, right? And 90 minutes of good, clean soccer to find 3 points. Now the Canes on the possession. Have been trying to figure out more ways to keep possession, to be able to build. Inconsistent on offense all season long for Sarah Barnes herself. They haven't been able to link to players, and she said we haven't been ruthless. We haven't been able to find those gaps and find the final pass. There's a giveaway there. And now Hanks on the turn. This could be a moment here for Wake. How about Klein? Early action, and she has looked pretty good.
Skyla Klein has been on from the start of this game, and that's exactly what she needed to do. It's a poor giveaway that led to this buildup from Wake, and that's how quickly they can go when they win. And when you're speaking about linking to players, Aria, right now that's what's letting Miami down, because they were able to pick the ball off. They had some good possession building out of the back. They were patient, but then coughed the ball up right in the center of the field, basically right at the edge of their defensive third. So they have to be smarter to be able to build forward. They have the idea. You see right now, Felton's been great on the ball. She's been able to spray it wide, but they have to be really smart when they're right on the edge of that defensive third.
Now getting an opportunity in Wake's defensive third. Oh, the dribble straight over the end line. It should be a goal kick, and it is. It's 21. Lauren Meeks, the junior from Fairfax Station, Virginia, led the team in goals last season, had 3 of them. Is a veteran now in her junior year, and is looking to help this Miami attack, Morgan. But that's a bright sequence for them to be able to push into Wake Forest's half.
And it started with what I was speaking about, deeper in their half. They were calm on the ball, and they forced Wake Forest to step out a little bit and try to stretch them to create some spaces. But what it also comes down to is they need numbers off the ball.
Pretty dangerous ball there from Felton, crashing in. Try and make a play on that was Caroline Hood. The goalkeeping position for Wake Forest this season has been interesting as well. They lose Valentina Amaral, a bright young U20 national team player. And she goes down with the ACL. Then Madison Howard sprains her ankle before the Virginia game in warm-ups. And in comes Peyton Cahill, the junior from Cottage Grove, Minnesota. They haven't lost with her in the net yet. This is good from Wake. On that right flank into the space. Nice turn. Small looking for help. A number of white jerseys have already dropped back into the box. On the turn. Again to Klein.
The difficulty is once that ball slows down, Small did a great job being on the ball. She was quick, forced Emma Tucker to drop in behind. But when it slowed down there, Miami's just able to send so many numbers back behind the ball. That's a time where they have to find that balance. Instead of going forward once again, find the patience, bring it back, recycle that ball to move it back around. Because when Miami can drop numbers in, they have that low block. It's really difficult to break them down when they're also almost all in their 18. So those are moments where Wake, it can be frustrating, but as this game goes on, they're going to have to just be patient, recycle it, find the other side, and then force Miami to step out a bit.
We're going to hear a couple of players that you're looking forward to watching here for both Miami and for Wake Forest on a very important night.
Well, for Miami, Emma Tucker, she plays that left wing back position, but when we were talking with Sarah earlier this week, she spoke so highly of her, and she has been such a big part of this program throughout her career. They give her a little bit more leeway, too, because she has to defend a fair amount in that wing-back position, but they like to look forward on the left side to get her into the attack. So I do think she can be an unlock on that wing area. And for Wake Forest, obviously we've talked about Nikki Small creating, mentioned Emily Murphy in the open. Kaya Hanks, I do think, can be an unlock for them, especially if they look to play direct, because she's so quick. So she can beat her players with the first step or two, and that's really going to be the only space she has, because there's not too much area in behind to play the ball. But then when you look at the midfield, Dempsey Brown's been fantastic for Wake, and also Mina. The way that she controls the midfield and is so calm on the ball, she's just fun to watch. So there's a few for you.
Plenty of content to digest there. Tony DeLuz called Malaika Mina a Pac-Man in the midfield for his team. Said arguably has been our most consistent player the last 3 or 4 matches. He's really loved the way that she has been able to step up. She battled a lot of injuries too coming over from England and has gotten comfortable to this American style of game. As you see again, Wake Forest, a lot of the possession early. This shot low. Klein again. It's been building up, right? The level of difficulty for her throughout the first few minutes of this match, but she has looked really good.
And a lot of the chances have come from Nikki Small. You see her cutting that ball back onto her left side. If you are defending her, you cannot allow her centrally. She wants that ball on her left. Miami has to be stronger and keep her wide if she's on the right side, which she's finding herself there. She will interchange at times. We'll see them move around a bit, but when Small's out wide, defensively, Miami has to keep her on that flank.
We asked Tony DeLuz earlier this week, give us a couple of players that you're challenging right now. Who has got to step up for you guys to get to your end season goals? And he said Nikki Small's one of them. I feel like she's been underperforming a little bit this season, and we really need her to be excellent tonight against Miami. So far, so good for the junior out of Canada. Such a talented player is Nikki Small. Top 5 in the ACC in assists. Was nominated for the best youth player in Canada a couple of seasons ago. Has an ACC all-freshman team honor under her belt in her career so far in Winston-Salem. Through ball. Nobody on the same page for Wake Forest. Again, Klein able to scoop it.
It's interesting so far with what we've seen from Wake and how they've attacked this back line of Miami. I expected to see them play a little bit more direct in regards to putting pressure directly on Klein and forcing her to come off her line, be big in the air, win those aerial battles. Because that was something that Tony mentioned, is that's a new back line, it's a new goalkeeper. We really feel like we can put pressure on them. And Wake has kept the ball on the ground a little bit more than I expected. They're going to have to start switching it up because Klein has shown she's going to be quick off her line. She's able to win those balls. And I do think for them to have some success, they'll need to switch it up, not just in their attack, but also in the way that they're putting the goalkeeper under pressure.
Pretty good give and go here on the cross towards that back post. Dangerous ball. Cerna had to do well and did. Heads it out. It's a throw. Allows Miami to recover a little bit as Nikki Small continues to try and work her way back into the Eagles here in 2023. She missed all of 2022, got injured with the Canadian national team in that preseason for college soccer. Was playing in a friendly and got taken down. Press from Wake Forest. Miami just trying to get out of some danger and create some space to operate out of. This is a throw now coming for Wake.
Caroline Hood didn't have many options around her. If that ball goes forward, she's going to have to hold on to it just because she doesn't have players running off of her, coming underneath, so a flick won't be able to connect, especially when all of her players, if her back's to goal, are going to be in front of her.
Morgan, you played in this conference. You played at this field. It is different. It's a little bit narrower as that giveaway. Hold that thought. Rogers into space. Hood trying to create an angle. Deacons recover well. Christine Johnson, oh, they're going to say it's off Miami.
I think Johnson might have been a little slick there because that definitely looked at first like it was going to be a Miami ball. It was good recovery getting back. Nice pressure going forward from Caroline Hood.
I think the sideline judge might have just missed that one. Miami has it now, but to the point we were making is we're at Cobb Stadium here on decision night in the ACC. Can Wake Forest find a way to get that 6th spot in the ACC championship? Alongside Morgan Bowen, I'm Aria Masudi, our entire crew here at the University of Miami. And you see the scenario there. A win gets it done. You don't have to ask questions. You don't need help. However, if you come up short here and you don't get the full 3 points, there are some other scenarios. Virginia Tech has a tough match on the road against a Pitt team that has as good of an offense and an attack as anyone in the country this season. But you don't want to put it in someone else's hands, right? You want to try and take care of things on your own and control your own destiny. There's Dempsey Brown. He's been an absolute star in her rookie season at Wake Forest. The Winter Park native giveaway. Miami on the transition. It finds the foot of a Deacon. It was Brown again. Now Ansbro, the captain. And to Johnson, the Icelandic Youth International. Great defending there. Great body positioning from Meeks. Miami's wins this season have come at Cobb Stadium. They played to their field well. Morgan, you've played here. How does it change what you have to do? Because it's a Wake team that's going to want to make the field bigger normally, but tonight maybe a bit more direct than they've been usually.
And they'll still look to make the field big because when you play at Miami, you want to make it as big as you possibly can. So that means your wing players have to be on the touchline. They have to pull really wide, because it is narrow, and it works really well with how Miami plays. They like to trap teams, so they like to send defenders, defend as a unit, and just trap them in those tight areas. But it's something about having the track around it and the heat as well. You have to add that in. It's so difficult to play there, and also with the way that Miami plays, so how they send the numbers, how they look to trap, how they play into the fact they don't always want to make the field big when they're attacking because they just want to make it messy and make it really difficult for opponents.
Canes do with this spell of possession. An emphasis for the team, switching to that 3-5-2. Pretty good ball in, and getting to it, though, was Cahill. I do want to remind you that right here on ACC Network and the ESPN app, our coverage of the men's 8K cross-country race begins tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. And that'll be followed by the women's 6K, both from Appalachia Regional Park in Tallahassee. On Sunday, the Women's Soccer Championship gets underway with first-round matches at 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock Eastern. And Tuesday, the field hockey quarterfinals begin with games at 1, 3:30, and 6 Eastern. ACC Network, the home of ACC championships. A lot to look forward to for ACC fans coming to that time of year. When the fall sports start to wind down, they start to name champions, hand out awards. Who will it be be in the ACC. Morgan, who's impressed you so far in the ACC? I mean, it's really feels like it's anyone's game, especially in that top 5 of the ACC standings.
I mean, Clemson is a team that I'm not surprised to see them doing well, but I do think after just last season and they wanted more. You knew that about them, especially with some of the leaders that they have on their team and the veteran players. So I'm happy to see them back because I think when Clemson is playing really well, it makes the ACC even better. It makes the game so much more competitive. Obviously with Florida State, it's always fun to see Brian Penske's impact that he continues to make down in Tallahassee. But I'm really excited to see Clemson continue. I just think with their bunch and their veteran group, they've built a lot there. So it's cool to see them having the success once again.
Yeah, you got to keep an eye on tonight. Clemson at Notre Dame. That could decide the 2 and 3 spots. Why is it so important? The first 2 seeds in the ACC championship, they get buys. They don't have to play on Sunday on a short turnaround. They get to rest and wait till next week at the end of the week, and they go straight to Cary, North Carolina. So I'm sure Jen Hildreth, Lori Lindsay, they are ready to rock from South Bend here this evening. That's a top 15 matchup on its own without what's on the line, right? And so every night in this league, it just feels like you have those top 10, top 15 matchups on a regular basis.
I mean, what a good regular season ending game. Just it's so much on the line, the talent on that field. We could easily see that late in the ACC tournament. We could easily see that matchup late in the NCAA tournament. There's so much to play for.
Not to lose sight of what there is to play for on this pitch tonight. Wake Forest still looking to break the ice. Plenty of time left. We're about the midway point now of this first half, and it's been kind of a story for Wake Forest at times this season. They have struggled to bring the ante and the energy against some of the teams at the bottom of the standings in the ACC. And you look at results, struggles against Boston College and Syracuse, couple of draws. They draw points earlier this season in non-conference play. They do have a great victory over Virginia. They drew North Carolina, so they have found ways to get results against some of the bigger names in the conference. But they're going to look to try and make a late run here. Need that opening goal, though, on the road.
And Aria, something that I want to see more of from Wake Forest is we know that they want to get their outside backs forward. We know that they may need to send in some service from deeper down the field, but I want to see more interchanging from that midfield. They're calm on the ball, and Miami's not pressing, so they have all the time in the world, but how can they interchange a little bit more, bring a forward? Maybe it's Murphy coming off that front line, dropping into the midfield to create, because they need to move the defenders of Miami out of their low block. So they have to make small, dashing, but also important moves to the point where defenders have to move with them. Because right now they're making it pretty simple for Miami. They've sent some numbers in behind, but there's not too much movement off the ball. We saw it early on. There was a really good slip ball into Hanks, but I haven't seen as much of that lately. And I do think if they can bring that in a bit, it forces defenders to make a decision. And also, it kind of confuses Miami with the game plan is what are they going to see when it comes to the Wake Forest attack. But right now, it's really predictable.
And Tony DeLuz said we're challenging that midfield. In a game like this, where Miami might sit in a lower block at times, you need that midfield to win battles, to be able to play its way out of the traps that Miami will tactically throw at you on their side of the pitch. And so far, not complex enough. They have tried to go wide at times, and Hanks has been pretty good. They've tried to use Nicky Small as well. Feels like a couple of overloads on that right side. There's Murphy. Haven't said her name too much. This is really promising. Wake Forest looking for the opener. This shot low, takes a deflection, and may have kept it out of the net and bought some time for Miami. 19, Delaney Brown gets a touch off the shot from Malika Mina. Corner for Wake Forest.
And this is a really good build-up. Mina is in the right place. That ball's dropped back to her. She strikes it well. That's saved from Brown because that was going to go into the lower corner. A nice strike. But what this started from was Hanks pulling herself all the way across the field. She drew her defender with her because Emma Tucker was higher. And she drew McCartney all the way to the flank. And that's what opened up some space centrally. That's what I'm talking about. They have to be more decisive with those movements to create pockets.
Could it be a set piece that changes things for Wake Forest? Pretty good ball from Zavoshi. It's a pinball at the net. Miami trying to clear it. Did that hit a hand? It did. It was Wake Forest, though, who got a mitt to the ball. It will go the other way. Klein thrown into a bit of chaos on that corner.
Well, Arya, pinball is a perfect way to say that. This ball just kind of bounced around, and that's what's going to cause trouble for Klein as she tries to track it. It's a good touch originally from Brown. A little bit of a deflection. It's hard to see everything that's going on and how quickly that happened. I would have loved to see Brown, though, step through that. It almost looks like it just kind of hit her. Can she step through that and connect? She had some space, but it was a handball eventually that pulled that one back.
Yeah, it looked like it hit 33 Abby Colton's hands. I'm laughing at Ansborough, who was trying to shield off Klein. Ended up just barreling her into the ground. Already a career high, by the way, Morgan, for Klein and saves. She's got 4 of them. As on senior night, Julie Edwards going to get into this match now in the first half, her final game in a Hurricane uniform.
She's moving some players around to come centrally. It looks like it's Meeks or Tucker who's actually stepping up to that front line, and Edwards slots more into a central area, but you'll see her push a bit higher.
Throw coming from Wake Forest. There's Adriana Cerna, the junior from Vegas. Keeping eyes on the league all evening long. A lot of good matchups. North Carolina playing at Boston College here this evening as well. Still some seeding potentially at play for the Tar Heels and Anson Dorrance. The headliner, Clemson Notre Dame, as we mentioned. That one in South Bend later on tonight. After us, it'll be the second part of our doubleheader. And then Virginia Tech Pitt. That's the other one. And if you're Virginia Tech and you're Chugger Adair, you got an opportunity. With 3 points, maybe some help from Miami, you might find yourself slipping into the postseason. Tuska Mahmoudpour into the match. Talk about the depth of the ACC too, and this season's been interesting. You've seen some new names, right, come into the fold. Clemson has taken that step forward. Pitt has taken a step forward. This Wake Forest team is battling, but teams that you're used to that have battled in the past, right, like Virginia Tech, Duke, Virginia, even NC State to some degree, not quite having those seasons, some due to injury, but again, a lot due to just the depth of the league. And when you have this many good players and teams, you just never know who's going to rise to the top.
A lot of it also comes down to teams not getting the results that they needed, not finishing chances. We saw so many draws in the ACC this year. And some of those teams you're mentioning, Duke, Virginia, obviously Wake has a fair amount of draws. Just teams not getting the results that they needed and leaving those points on the table. And it allowed other teams to step up. And if they had players that were putting the ball away, they were able to get those 3 points, and it really did make a difference.
It makes it all that more impressive, doesn't it, Morgan? That the UNCs, the Florida States, the Notre Dames of the world, the consistency that they've been able to play at and keep themselves amongst the best teams in the country. This is better from Miami. Mahmoudpour trying to jostle her way, create an angle. Ansbro wins the 1v1. And now Wake perhaps trying to build out of their back. Connects and passes, something they do oh so well. They usually outpossess other teams. It's a staple of Tony DeLuise. Now Murphy, nice turn. Into the space, Hanks. 1v1 against Cerner, cuts it back inside. Stops Murphy. Murphy now 1v1, getting onto her right foot. Murphy looking for the shot, blocked.
That's great work defensively from Cerna, staying really tight with Murphy. As she cut inside, she was able to recover and block the shot.
A Miami team that is committed to the cause, right? They preach this week in their locker room as you look at the defense on this from Cerna.
And you see the recovery. She gets turned, but she's step for step with Murphy, does a fantastic job just putting that front foot in the way as a defender. It's really well done. She would have loved to not bite at first for that cut, but the way she recovered was textbook.
Glancing header. Wide of the left post. Klein felt like she had it covered, watched it go wide. There's an early touch from Alex Wood, who just came on.
In the way that Wood has that glancing header, her body is going away from goal, so that flick doesn't have as much power behind it, but she does a nice job trying to get some connection. Like you said, though, Klein confident knowing that one was wide.
There's Emily Morris, the junior from Fort Mill, South Carolina. She makes her introductions into this game. The veteran really took advantage of her opportunity last season. As you see, Swanson will take a seat. Still scoreless, Johnson. Miami has defended well. Canes into the attack. Mahmoudpour looking for help. Into space. Tucker looking for the cutting. Mahmoudpour there from behind the defense. Not able to convert that final pass. Deacons can do building out of the back. They have struggled once they have reached Miami's defensive third. Long ball again, just a little too heavy. And Klein going to be able to have the goal kick intended for Wood.
And that's finding a little bit of that balance, is looking to play in behind. That ball came from a deeper area right around midfield. It's not a bad idea. The difficulty, though, is the ball has to be played with the correct amount of weight. It can't be hit too hard just because it's going to roll out of bounds like it did. But I don't mind that idea from Wake Forest, and that's them trying to switch things up a bit, which was a key, is how can they play direct? How can they play it through the middle? And you see they're looking to stretch in behind.
This has been better from Miami so far in this first half. Again, another ball that's going to roll out. They've sat back when they've needed to, right? They've been in a low block at times. More of a mid-block, though, here tonight. And they have taken more chances getting forward, perhaps. That mentality of playing spoiler. Really nothing to lose, right, Morgan? Like, there's nothing that affects you in the standings, so you might as well go for the dub and end the season on a bright note.
Yeah, they have the ability to make things really difficult for teams in the midfield when they look to build up. Where Miami's struggling a little bit is just how do they connect their midfield to the front line. And since Mahmoudpour's come in, she has been making some small dashing runs, trying to get in behind the back line of Wake Forest. The final ball hasn't been there, but I do like the energy she's brought in and the vision and where she's trying to make her runs. She also is one of the first players, when there was an entry ball played to her feet, she beat a defender there and got her foot on the ball. We didn't see that as much before she came in. So she has to continue that, but it also can't just be one person. She needs a little bit more support from Tucker on that front line.
Has been really good at her hold-up play, inviting other players into the attack. The sophomore from Lorton, Virginia.
In hold-up play, she just drew 3 defenders, and then is it also able to win a free kick. So that's, with her dropping off that back line, that's how she can create for her team, is to be able to hold on to that ball, but she needs players underneath to build up as well.
Oh, Miami got that all wrong. As it'll go for a goal kick. What a Week 9 ACC Network football lineup we have for you on Saturday. It starts at noon Eastern with Boston College, winners of their last 3, hosting UConn, and then Virginia, fresh off their upset of UNC, takes on Miami, a team that just beat Clemson in double overtime. And then we cap the day with 17th ranked UNC and Georgia Tech at 8 p.m. All 3 games also available on that ESPN app, so you can watch it anywhere. Those Miami Hurricanes in double overtime found a way to come back down 17-7 to Clemson. Virginia causing chaos in the ACC, taking down North Carolina. You got a number of teams now in play to make it to Charlotte. That's going to be a lot of fun to monitor these final few weeks of the regular season. Cerna. Dispossessed, now Miami on the turn. Crunching tackle, stoppage of play. Is this going to be a booking? Sure seems like it. There's the yellow. Into the air it goes. That is Julia Edwards, I believe, who will get the yellow.
And Edwards is just late going in. Late to the tackle, doesn't get there in time, goes down. Definitely a good call from the referee, because she's coming from an angle and just doesn't get there and takes out her player.
Edwards on her senior day. Well, she's going to be in the box score. She can't say it was uneventful on her final game as it came. Under 10 to play here in this first half, still scoreless. Been impressed with this Canes team. Can they build out of the back now? Can they hit in transition? McCartney, Tucker, now playing a little more centrally on the turn. Wake corrals. After a couple of balls, it finds a player in black. It found Mina. Johnson, room to operate.
Ariel, Malaika Mina is just that player that keeps the ball moving, keeps the tempo for Wake, and is so calm on the ball. She just wins it, is able to turn, find the other side. She shows as an outlet pass, is able to knock it back. She just kind of beats the drum in the midfield for Wake.
Hannah Johnson into the match, was one of the heroes for Wake against Syracuse a couple of weeks ago. A late second half goal helped earn a draw on the road. Wilson as well into the game that night against Cuse. Tony DeLuz and the Deeks found themselves down 2-0 and had to find a way back. Ended up salvaging a point. They've had results in 7 of their last 8 games. Wake, a team that you would describe as solid. They haven't done anything to really devastate their chances at postseason. They just are lacking quality victories right now. And maybe tonight not just 3 points, to give you the opportunity in the ACC championship to knock off maybe one, who knows, maybe two big names, big RPI teams that ends up ultimately edging you into the tournament.
Arya, Mahmoudpour has been the biggest difference for Miami looking to build any attack. That ball didn't go through, but I like that idea. You see how she's working to get her first touch on the ball and then turning, trying to play. She put too much and didn't have her runner anticipating where the ball was going. But I like what she's brought to this front line. The one thing I want to see from her, though, is just picking her head up to see where her players are around her, because I don't think they're anticipating where it's going time after time. So she kind of has to be the one to be a little bit more aware of where it's going, because she doesn't have anyone calling for it off of her, so she needs to dictate that. But I've really been impressed with what I've seen from her coming in on this front line.
How about that ball? Guess who it is again? Mahmoudpour. Into that attack, clip from behind. She earns the free kick, so now perhaps Miami can set something up and maybe change the course of this game here late in the first.
It was a good little slip ball, too, to find her running. Just opening up, playing it through that she could run onto.
It'll be Emily McCartney out of McKinney, Texas. Who are you looking for here if you're McCartney?
She just has to play that ball in a dangerous area. She has a couple targets. You have Wheeler in there.
And instead, just right to Cahill.
It's not a bad ball, and it looks like Edwards was the player going near post, but somebody has to try to get a touch on that, or at least get in the way of Cahill coming off her line.
Is that the right spot on that 6-yard box?
I would have loved to see the ball lofted a little bit more, but that's tricky, right? You don't want to knock it super high in the air, but give your team a little bit more time to get there. But yeah, that's where it needs to go, because you force Cahill off her line, and you have runners going forward, so it just is a bit chaotic, and your players are running towards goal so they can see where that ball's coming.
Now, given a shot, it's the first shot of the game for Miami. As Hanks called for the foul. Skylar Klein. You mentioned that Melissa Dagenet not playing tonight. She is up in Canada, getting ready to play Brazil for a couple of exhibitions. One this weekend and one on Halloween night. Dagenet, we'd be remiss not to mention, just moved into third place all-time at Miami last week for saves, now at 262 of them. Boy, a steaming ball that somehow got through. Johnson, lefty cross, right outside the box. Still with Wake Forest threatening. Brown, onto her right foot, turns, crosses, deflection, corner.
This could be a really good opportunity for Wake Forest to put one away before half. They haven't threatened that much. They had a couple opportunities in the first few minutes, and then it really slowed down. And this game has been played more so in the middle third. But this could be a great opportunity for them, created from Brown. She didn't have much space, but really earned this corner. Chavochi's so good with her service and her set pieces.
See what Chavochi does. Her goal against Louisville was the difference after a red card was given on the play. Towards that penalty spot. Miami was ready for it. Got a whistle. It looks like it is going to go against Wake Forest.
And it's a ball just lofted in. The foul looks like it's on Hannah Johnson against Emma Tucker, with the height that she has, Johnson does not need to go over top of Tucker that way. I think she could have just beat her to the front and won the ball.
1 minute remains in the first half. 1 minute.
Johnson. Last few seconds ticking off the clock here. Lofted into the box, headed out. Now under 30 to play. Mina to Hanks, who can fly. Clip from behind. Nothing called. Goal kick. Hanks wants that to be a deflection in a corner, but that might be the final play here of this first half.
I want to see this ball played in behind to Hanks more often. You see how quickly she gets there. I want to see more of those chances in the second half from Wake.
All right, so Tony DeLuz and the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, they find themselves scoreless and in a deadlock, if anything, for each of these two teams.
I want to see the level of intensity raised from Wake Forest, because also if they're trying to make the ACC tournament, they're going to have to play better to be able to get a result in the ACC tournament if they make it there. So they have to play quicker, they have to challenge, they have to just make smarter decisions in the attacking front so that they're actually putting Miami under pressure, because defensively Miami is doing a great job, but they're not challenged too much right now. And for Miami, these seniors, this is their last 45 minutes. So I want to see this team fight and make it really difficult for Wake Forest. I've also been impressed with how they've held on to the ball and looked to possess, but can there be other attackers along with Mahmoudpour building forward? So it's not just one person. Other people have to run off the ball, create support, because otherwise one person won't be able to create everything when she drops off that front line.
Klein points out her instructions. This is dangerous for Wake Forest right out of the gate of the second half. Set piece opportunity. Towards that back post, headed down. Did it skim off of a head? It found nobody, actually. Somehow, some way. And it'll be a goal kick for Miami.
And I don't know how Murphy missed this one. It looks like it actually touched Serna. She popped it out of the way last minute. Got a really slight touch, almost with her hair, because Murphy was right in behind looking to step through and head the ball. But well done on the back line for Miami, being able to get the touch.
So Wake Forest team that has been stronger throughout the season in the second half than they have in the opening stands at 19 second half goals this season, amongst the best in the ACC. Nikki Small, dynamic to Murphy. Did that flag stay down? It did not. It was 13 Morris who found an acre of space, but there was a reason for it.
And Aria, we mentioned at halftime the buildup that we've seen on the right side. It's what's allowing Nikki Small to dribble centrally and bring her defenders, but Morris was definitely a step beyond the back line. But that's proven to be very dangerous. So Nikki Small has the ball, she drew her defenders, and then Morris was wide open. I expect us to see that continue for Wake. They're not just going to keep the ball on the flanks and go direct and straight forward. They're going to try to bring those defenders across so they can open up spots, because there's not as much space. We've mentioned it with this narrow field.
Did you like that too from Murphy? Almost back to the defense, kind of hold up play action and have runners peeling off of her.
Yeah, and it also as a defender, it's just another player that you have to know where Murphy's at, because that ball could easily be played to her foot, and then she's central right in front of goal with the ball on her foot. You know she can finish. So she's in a great position.
There's Brown, by the way. Dempsey Brown, who has played in the midfield, has played it right back. Tony DeLuz said she's arguably been our most consistent player all season. when you look at the performances, a chance to be a rock star in this league for a very long time. Flag up on Miami. Offside the call, but Brown, the Floridian, Lake Highland High School, and she has started every single game that she has appeared in this season.
She's been in a bit more of a distributor role tonight, just with where she's lined up and the pressure that she's facing from Miami. Is she's not defending much because she doesn't have players coming in on her, but I'd like to see her a little bit cleaner on the ball with her first touch and then connecting, because Brown is such a big part of this Wake Forest team, but I do think she hasn't had as much time on the ball, and some of that is because her first touch hasn't been really clean, and it's affecting her distribution just a little bit.
Got to see how Miami responds in second halves so far this season. You see Tony DeLuze, an intense look on the head coach's face. He knows this is a big one. This could very well be the end of the line for this Demon Deacon team if results don't go their way around the league. We mentioned their RPI in the low 80s. That's not going to get the job done to make the big dance. So these next 40 or so minutes are just imperative. Brown, turn, Small. Back to Brown, flag stayed down. Low cross, deflected. It will be a goal kick. That was Kaya Hanks on the final touch.
And it's a different look that we saw from Wake there, because it was Brown wide, then she found the ball central to Small and kept her run going. So played another through ball, her hips not able to get all the way around the ball, so not the best cross. But I like how they switched that up a little bit, getting her higher up the field in a wide area, but it wasn't just her dribbling, because Emma Tucker was able to close that space originally. It was the combination that really opened up Brown for the cross.
You get that feeling as this game goes along and it stays scoreless. Somebody's got to make a play, right? Sometimes it's just an individual moment of brilliance. You don't want to say put your team on your back, but maybe on one run or one final touch, you got to be a little ruthless. Maybe it's right here from Nikki Small. Outside of the boot, Murphy. Transfer from North Carolina, back to Small onto her left foot. Defense collapsing. How about that move from Small? Turning it in a corner kick. It's almost like she heard me, Morgan. Tried to make that run herself. It's a corner coming for Wake.
And you have to give credit to Julia Edwards, shutting down Small on the end line. Small looks to get that ball in her left. You're expecting her to keep it there. I love how she changes it up and puts it back on her right, but Edwards does not go for it, stays touch tight, and is able to get a foot in.
The tenacity of this Miami team has been admirable all season long. Third corner. Near post. And headed out again. Just getting it away from danger. One more corner.
It might have not seemed like much, though, but when you think on that opportunity that Small just had, the way that Edwards did not bite when that ball was on her left foot and she cut it back, that defending was so well done.
Opts for the back post this time. On the shot, low. Still, Wake Forest. Murphy goes down, tackled from behind, no call. Play on. Mina, nice turn. Murphy into the width on the left flank. Hanks dancing, looking. First time cross. And again, Miami up to the task. They clear it out.
And the last opportunity when it was Murphy, the ball just kind of stuck on her foot. Tight defending. It's hard to see what happens with the two players stepping in from Miami. This is actually a great look at it. Just gets tangled. I think that's a good no call. Just fantastic defending for Miami to get a touch in and get Murphy off balance.
Claire Llewellyn stepped in for Hallie Salas here tonight after Salas picked up the red card over the weekend against Virginia Tech. It's another corner coming. And now Wake putting on the pressure. Fifth corner. We've seen this throughout the season from the Deacons. They get stronger in the second half, more committed to getting numbers forward. Shavoshi. Swinging ball. That caught a piece of the post. Maybe where the post meets that crossbar. Either way, out of the net. Miami safe for now. Hanks corrals to her left foot, looking for the cross again. Miami throwing bodies in front of the ball. Corner again for Wake.
Aria, Tony was telling us they have to put pressure on this back line of Miami, especially Klein, and they're doing that in this second half. You know that was the conversation at halftime, forcing Skyla Klein. I think originally in real time that opportunity looked closer than it was, hitting the outside of the post. But Wake Forest able to regroup, and they are sending numbers forward. They're also sending balls in, corners, crosses. That is their game plan, is put that back line, put Klein under direct pressure.
Almost had an Olympico, now going for it again. Bodies hitting the turf, a foul called on Wake. And now Miami will take a breath and reset.
And I mentioned the game plan is clear from Wake Forest. We knew coming in they wanted to do that. They were able to regroup and bring it in the second half, but defensively Miami is able to handle it. Yes, they have numbers deep behind the ball, so there's so many players that can support, but they've been winning 1v1 battles, or at least challenging and contesting them, and not getting beat in those 1v1 battles, sending in numbers and doubling down. Think of the opportunity with Murphy, 2 players coming in and getting a touch. They are committed to defending.
That was the 9th foul on Wake Forest. A whiff there from Miami. Small, oh, pretty move. Creates for space. On that cross, low. Cleared out. Was that Llewellyn again? Was that Tucker getting back? Now a hook. Again, no call as Murphy went down. Morris has a go. A little ambitious with that strike.
You can see Murphy getting slightly frustrated. She's trying to create for her team, Aria. She's trying to be that one player when they need somebody to step up, was working hard to get a PK here. It's a great turn. She does a fantastic job. Julia Edwards is just holding her ground. Yeah, there's maybe a little hook of the arm, but it's nothing intentional. I like the fact that she's trying, but what she has to do is keep her mind focused so she's not getting a bit carried away, because it can be frustrating when they've put Miami under pressure for basically 10 straight minutes. But she's got to stay just composed to make good decisions on the ball.
McCartney drops it back. Direct play into Wake's half. Maybe Miami can switch the field. Poor ball, giveaway. Johnson on that far left side. Murphy, very active now in the second half. Johnson. Hanks, cross, deflected. Still with Wake Forest, Johnson just looking for an angle to cross it in. Hanks camped out. Johnson, Cerna got ahead to it. Now Mahmoudpour, how deep is she back defending? Tucker, looking for that through ball. Flag was up. There's Gianna Angelillo, the outstanding freshman.
That was a good through ball from Tucker. She almost caught Wake Forest. Shavoshi was there. Obviously didn't matter with being offside. That was a really good through ball.
There's a hold and a foul. A bit of a clock issue. Head official. Colton to Johnson. This is good from Hanks. Still Hanks on her right foot. Hanks has a go at it. Did that take a touch? It did. Corner on their way. 7th corner coming now for Wake.
Well, and Hanks created this all herself too. It's a really nice turn. Wake is loving that cut with the outside of the foot to go central. Looks to hit it to the far post. And Hanks was a player who, coming back from ankle injury, talking with Tony earlier, he was happy, saying that she's close to 100%. They were excited to get her back, and it's clear to see why.
Towards that back post. That takes a touch, and it's in the net. A big moment here from Coral Gables. Laurel Lansborough will get the credit. Wake won't care who gets it. They are ahead. And 3 points now in sight here on the road.
When you talk about putting the goalkeeper under pressure, I don't think there's any better way to do it than how this ball was played in from Morris. It hung in the air, and honestly, I don't think Ansborough had to touch it too much the way that it was curling in, but she is directly in front of Klein. She's shielding her. Klein cannot see whatsoever, and she just gets that first touch. That's well done from Wake Forest. That's executing what they wanted to do. The ball played in, shielding the goalkeeper, and a good finish from Ansborough.
Her 2nd goal of her career, 1st of the season. The captain, 34 straight starts, and perhaps maybe the most important of her career so far. With that goal, Wake Forest right now is clear of the line. They are in 6th place. They have that final spot. And to make everything better for Deacon fans, Pitt has scored against Virginia Tech. So now you're 2 goals clear. You're feeling decent. A lot of time left, though.
Well, and Wake Forest doesn't know that, right? They're still playing, and maybe a coach on the sideline does, but they're not telling their players because for them, they have to get a result. So it's really good that they were able to knock that first goal in. Miami now, this is where things get difficult because they're chasing, and they've struggled on the attacking end. They're really good at making it difficult for teams defensively, but when they have to get on the attack, that's where things fall apart just a little bit. So can they continue to push forward? I really want to see Mahmoudpour continue, a couple substitutions coming in to keep those fresh legs. Felton back in the midfield. Can they push this game? And I do expect that we will see them continue to push and also make some aggressive decisions as the game just continues on.
Morris gets that assist. A foul going the other way. What a moment for Laurel Lansborough. This is what the doctor ordered. You talk about a new keeper, right, being in the game as well, young and inexperienced. Perhaps if Dagenet was in there, she'd know how to angle herself just a little bit more or draw the foul right, a little bit more craftsmanship to go down and draw the whistle. But that was the plan. Tony DeLuz talked about it. We got to put some balls right on top of Skyla Klein and see what happens.
Well, and that was the first time they actually did it, though. And it shows what happens. It paid off. They had talked about it. Yes, they've sent some crosses in, but nothing has really forced Klein to be special, or nothing has really put her under that much pressure. And she would have had to be special to get to that ball first. She would have had to get through Ansborough, position herself differently. But Wake was able to capitalize on exactly what they wanted to do. It just took them a fair amount of time to do it.
Third start for Klein here this season. Dajane, one of the bright keepers, not just in the ACC, but in the country. How does Miami respond? On the cross, Canes! Oh boy, Cahill. She was beat. It went wide.
And what a ball sent in from Rogers. She picked her head up. She saw the run coming from Tucker. It's a fantastic run on the far post. She's caught centrally, though, so she's trying to find her way wide. If she started wider, then she would be running onto the ball and be able to get there a little bit easier. But that's a fantastic ball sent in. We really haven't seen Cahill have to track the ball too much on her goal line. It's a fantastic ball sent in. So how do they get back on the score sheet, Aria? That's how. Play a fantastic ball onto the back post and have a runner.
I do want to remind you quickly that Saturday morning, the ACC Huddle crew will kick off the day in Atlanta at 11 a.m. Eastern with a 60-minute pregame show leading into BC, hosting UConn at noon. They'll also have halftime shows and pre- and post-game shows throughout the day. Then they're back at 6:30 to wrap up the afternoon with highlights and analysis, and to get you set for UNC and GT. That's at 8 o'clock. Yeah, we've got chaos in ACC football. A little bit of chaos here for some ACC women's soccer. The men's side of things in soccer has been interesting to follow as well. Tucker, nice 1v1 win. Now a ball looking for Mahmoudpour. Chavoshi had it covered, throw-in coming for now of Miami. Morris. Wheeler, dispossessed, Murphy. Brown, back to Murphy, Morris. Little triangle created now, a switch of the field. Well done by Wake.
It's really well done, because also when Dempsey Brown had that ball, she had two players making very similar runs, but pulling different defenders from Miami, and both Morris and Colton. So she had multiple options on where she could go from that as they looked to switch the point.
.5 minutes and change left. As it stands, Wake Forest has that 6th spot. It was Laurel Ansborough who made sure of it. Got to defend now. Poor pass, a little too slow. Brown has it. Wake looking for a second. And to shut the door on this one. Murphy, still Murphy, to her right foot, takes a touch, and a deflection. Miami clears it away.
Miami was able to recover quickly because on their last build-up, Wheeler had the ball at her foot. She was the one who gave it away, but she had two players on the back line wanting it. They were able to track back. Delaney Brown does a good enough job to slow up Murphy so she can't get a clear shot, and then gets in for a second tackle with Nikki Small.
Here's Cerna coming in. And Morgan, what's that balance like right now for Wake Forest between hanging on to the win, a surefire 3 points, and advancing in your season, and trying to go for a second?
Well, I think they still need to go for a second, because the way they go for a second is taking care of the ball, making smart decisions, and that's how they play. So it's still a safe way to play, because it would start with possessing and building the ball forward, but this game's also not over. And like I said earlier, if they're wanting to have a good performance in the ACC tournament, they need to be consistent, so they can't take their foot off the gas.
From the penalty spot here, looking for that second. Klein has it loose. Murphy follows it right back to Klein.
Klein's been really good tonight for Miami. She tracks that ball all the way across. A lot has been asked of her. This one almost tips out. She's able to get up quickly and just basically picks that ball off the foot of Murphy. She had big shoes to fill and a lot to play for tonight, and Klein's been really good stepping in net.
Her career high with 5 saves. And you look at the limited action she's had behind Melissa Dagenet.
And also, Arya, going back to your question, Wake has a lot to play for. They need to continue to switch things up. So when you talk about the key from earlier, it's finding balance in how they play. Is it a bit direct? Is it building forward and really pinging the ball around and having more of a pretty expansive style of play? They need to continue forward and finding that balance, because they're going to see a different opponent in the ACC tournament. Some of it might still kind of be up in the air, but they can't just play one way. So their season's not over. They have a lot to play for. They haven't been super consistent tonight, and obviously the second half has been so much better when it comes to finishing than the first, but they do need to continue to clean things up. And I think if this result stands and they walk away in the ACC tournament, I don't think Tony will be super happy with the performance, because he obviously would have wanted it to be a bit sharper. So they can't just kind of settle in right now, because in my opinion, that type of mentality will just continue on into the next game.
There's something to be said about finishing strong and creating momentum into that postseason. Again, 1-0 here at Cobb Stadium in Coral Gables. Pitt leads 1-0 over Virginia Tech. The final two teams battling for that 6th spot in the ACC championship. Landy Mertz has given the Panthers the lead. Minutes and some change to play. Johnson to Swanson. Hits the corner flag, goal kick coming. Or perhaps even a throw. It will be a throw indeed. There's Jordan Felton, the junior from Waldorf, Maryland. Felton, a pretty cool story, by the way. Morgan has trained some with Celtic FC when she was in high school. Trained with the Washington Spirit as well. A player that has come to Coral Gables and has a really bright future now in her junior year. Calls for a handball, not rewarded. The Deeks hold on. Ansbro. See that bright pink armband signaling she's the captain alongside Murphy. Miami looking to cause a lot of anxiety here for Wake Forest and the rest of the league.
Wake Forest giving up a foul there, but it was a really good job defensively, able to swarm that ball in recovery. It was 3 players all around, but it's Morris who clips the back of the Canes player.
It's the 12th foul, by the way, on Wake Forest. Miami just 4 of them. Into the box, Mahmoudpour charging on. Flag was up, offside.
As this ball's sent in, Mahmoudpour just in behind. That is something that if you're a wide player when the ball is being sent in, whether on a cross or a set piece, being offside, those decisions just have to be better because you can just pull your run a little bit wider. It also gives you more time to get on the other side of the ball, and you're facing goal in a better angle than if you just run straight forward. And those are just the higher level thinking of how can I beat my defender? You can also beat your defender better by peeling wide and getting behind them versus trying to run straight in front of them when they can see you the whole time. And I think that's something that Mahmoudpour can just be better at.
It's a good ball. Cerna just rifling it across, but behind the net. It will be a goal kick. What a Week 9 ACC Network football lineup we have for you on Saturday. It starts at noon with Boston College, winners of their last 3. Thomas Castellanos, a star. They host UConn, and then Virginia. How about their upset over North Carolina and Chapel Hill? They take on Miami. That's a team that just stunned Clemson in double overtime and come from behind fashion. Then we cap the day with North Carolina trying to rebound against Georgia Tech. That's at 8 o'clock. All 3 games also available on the ESPN app, so you can watch them anywhere. Intrigued to see how Drake May responds against a Georgia Tech team led by Brent Key. They have been a feisty group at times this season. Congratulations to Tony Elliott. What a victory on the road for a Virginia program that has had so much adversity strike the Charlottesville area, UVA in general. Service into that box, headed away. Wake looking to clinch the 6th seed in the ACC championship. A little over 15 minutes separate them if this scoreline holds. If it doesn't, they've got some help currently up in the Steel City, where Pittsburgh leads Virginia Tech. Swanson has emerged this season for Wake Forest. She's playing in the center midfield. Last touch by a Demon Deacon. Miami will get the throw. Tony DeLuz, he's looking at the clock, just thinking, please, final 15 minutes.
Well, and he's also frustrated. I mean, it's a fantastic defensive play from Delaney Brown, just getting to the ball first and then maintaining possession for her team. But he's really expecting more from Hannah Johnson to use her frame when she gets to that ball first, but Brown is the one who beats her to it.
There's a cross towards that 6-yard box. Murphy the intent. Still Johnson. Murphy. Low liner, deflection! Count it! It's in the net! And a spot in the ACC championship, all but clinch now for Wake. Emily Morris does the damage. The Deacons up a brace now on the road.
This is a beautiful finish. And it's the ball wide. It's Murphy. She picks out her player, sees it. Morris all the way across frame, just gets a slight touch. But it's the ball from Murphy right to that near side of the 6. And a fantastic little flick from Morris, beating her defender and beating Klein to knock that one home.
Hammer meets the nail. And the Deacons can start feeling good about themselves and their postseason chances. Morris' 2nd goal here of the season in her junior year, her 6th career goal in Winston-Salem. The Deacons primed to get into the win column, a full 3 points. And a date on Sunday as the 6th seed. Still plenty to think about as to who they'll play. And don't you just love a good appetizer, a good tease, because you've got Clemson and Notre Dame, each who could be the 3 seed, playing this Wake Forest team as there's a foul in a dangerous area on Shavoshi.
Shavoshi comes in, closing space. There's some hands there. I agree with the call. I don't think it needs to be anything more, though. Might have been a bit of a softer call, but I do think they're a bit handsy. Tucker helps a bit, goes down pretty easily. But this creates a set-piece opportunity for Miami in a really dangerous area.
Towards that back post, Cahill asks questions. She's got it. Answers them perfectly. Strong into the air.
It's well done from Cahill. It's probably nice for her to also get another touch on the ball. It's been a while, so she's able to come up, win that ball. But Aria, going back to the goal too from Wake, it was a beautiful finish, but that was one of the first times that we've actually seen runners time their runs really well with the cross. So Murphy picked out that ball going across to Morris, but the timing of the run from Morris was there as well. And a lot of what we've seen in the second half, they've sent balls in, and it's more so been putting Klein under pressure, putting the goalkeeper under pressure. But there, she was able to pick out a player, and they were looking to connect with one another versus maybe have runners, maybe get somebody there, maybe make it difficult for Klein. It was really intentional with the ball played in, the run, the touch. And I think that's something good for Wake to build off of as they now look ahead to most likely the ACC tournament.
They have found ways when they've been pressed. And Tony DeLuse's side, they will have another chance, right? That's all you can ask for. That RPI not going to go forward much. It might actually drop from playing Miami. So then it comes down to Sunday, and if you make it to the semifinals, what do you do there? You're guaranteed to play outstanding opponents from here on out. And so the opportunity exists as a corner coming for Wake. Hanks back in, by the way, as this will be the 8th corner coming for Wake Forest. Small also will try and finish this game out, as does Carly Wilson. Substitutions for Miami as well. Morris has been dangerous from that corner flag. Another really good one towards that back post. This time, though, Klein shakes free, makes the grab.
And that one looked like it was on the top of Skylar Klein's fingertips, but did a really nice job of getting big and winning the ball.
Start to look at who Wake might play on Sunday. If it is indeed Notre Dame. These two teams did meet back in September in South Bend. Notre Dame winning 3-1. That would be a rematch. Could it be Clemson? Could it be Carolina? Is this low, hard cross dealt with by Miami? Tucker trying to clear it away. Wake Forest tied Carolina in a really big match that Emily Murphy scored against her former team in just a couple of weeks ago. That was a 1-1 draw from Winston-Salem. Clemson and Wake Forest haven't played this season, and so that becomes really interesting. You know, you have to scout a new team. This is pretty good from Small. Turning it, was looking for Johnson. It stayed in play. Now Tucker on that strong left foot clears it away. to find out who Wake Forest will play. The game following us between the Tigers and the Irish, that's at 8 o'clock, will go a long way into determining the rest of the seeding in the ACC Championship. Florida State, NC State playing right now. The Seminoles can clinch the regular season title. They've already clinched a share. They have locked up that 1 seed, but they could win it outright. And Brian Penske's team has already won it 4 straight times, the ACC. Now, some of that was Mark Krikorian. Some of that's been Brian Penske. Either way, the Seminoles will be a tough out. We will see what happens starting on Sunday in this ACC Championship. All those games on ACC Network, the final on ESPNU. What an environment that's going to be. Morgan, you've played in those environments in postseason play, especially in Cary. They are unbelievably fun as this ball comes in. And a foul called gives you a chance to comment on that.
Well, I think with this foul, I think Tucker and Shavoshi, there's a bit of a soft call, so I think it's even between the two of them with what we saw earlier. But yeah, to answer your question, there's nothing like the postseason, but this opportunity from Miami. It's not a bad ball sent across. Once again, there's only one player around, and it's Tucker. So she does her best. Shavoshi able to win a set piece for her team. But yeah, there's nothing like the postseason, Aria, especially the ACC. One thing that's so interesting is you may have had matchups against a team in the regular season, but the stakes are so much higher that teams are different in the postseason. So you really can't just go off how the first game went.
Flag was up, by the way, offside, but that was as bright of a moment as Miami has had. It was Tucker on that final touch.
Yeah, it's 2 players once again, but there's a little bit more combination, more build-up. I do think for Miami to be more dangerous, they need other players besides Emma Tucker, besides Mahmoudpour getting forward, because those 2 cannot create everything, although they're doing a really nice job of interchanging it and building up and creating something right there.
Few more minutes left. Wake complete command here in this second half. They have seemingly punched their ticket into postseason play. Only 6 teams make the ACC championships. Coming into the night, it was Wake Forest, and it was Virginia Tech vying for that final spot. Wake looks like it'll be theirs. That tournament, oh so fun. Again, Morgan, you've played in it. You've played in Cary, especially when you play a North Carolina team that will have probably a home crowd there if they make it. That environment is as good as it gets in college soccer.
There's no better energy because with the crowd that comes, just that whole area for soccer, for youth soccer, is such a great hub that it's really cool, all the young players that come out to watch the college stars. And when it comes to actually playing in it as well with opponents is, yeah, you may have played a team in the regular season, but stakes are so much higher. Teams are more intense. Teams are more physical that you see a completely different opponent when it comes to the postseason.
See runs like the one Tucker just made. That is really good, about 40 yards solo. Miami just looking for something positive to end this season on. Just 3 wins all year, 2 in ACC play. It has been a year of tough breaks for Sarah Barnes, her 6th season. And you see that picture right there almost encapsulates the Miami Hurricanes this entire season. Just player after player going down with injuries.
Emma Tucker gets tangled up on the cross with Peyton Cahill. Cahill's coming off her line. Tucker's running in. A bit of a tangle, and she's a player that has been playing with everything she has. The graduate student with Miami throughout her career has been such a big part of this Canes program and has just created a lot of that culture when it comes to the hard work, not giving up, building as a team, and really fighting in games. And you've seen it today. She has been on that flank or kind of popped into the center as a forward a bit, but she has not stopped running, not stopped building forward. We've mentioned there's not a ton of players getting forward. When you look up, you definitely see Emma Tucker in the box.
Tomorrow's ACC PM with Mark Packer and Taylor Tannenbaum will come to you from Atlanta as they prep for college football Saturday, highlighted by 17th ranked North Carolina and Georgia Tech, starting at 4 Eastern. That game right here on ACC Network Saturday night at 8. McIntyre in for Swanson, as is Christy Vieira, who actually started against Louisville in Wake's last game. Played nearly 20 minutes. Under 4 minutes to play on Miami's season. Very optimistic about their future is Sarah Barnes and the freshman class that they brought in. She said she felt like the culture of this team was as strong as it's ever been, despite the rash of injuries, losing multiple starters in the preseason, got a couple of transfers that then also went down with injuries. They've been trying to piece things together, and it's hard when you start from scratch, so to speak, like Miami did, and then COVID hits, and you really don't build that momentum. You're never able to put building blocks one on top of another, and you just hope one of these seasons, right, maybe the mix of veterans that have been hardened through ACC play just comes to fruition, and you have a bright season.
Well, when you look at where this Miami program has grown, they're recruiting better soccer players year over year. And I think that can be said across the ACC, just as across clubs and youth soccer, the level continues to increase, and these players are so technical. They are so talented that it increases the level when they get to the college game. And Miami is able to recruit really good soccer players, and it just, like I said, that level improves, and they're no longer just a team that's really difficult to play. They are able to build and combine and put pressure on teams. But like you said, they've been hit hard with that injury bug. And it's difficult, especially when that happens with some of your front runners, because that can be more difficult to replace when you need a goal scorer. You need a couple players who have that nose for goal, who have the ability to just put something away. And if you lose some of that and it becomes more by committee, it can just be more of a hurdle to overcome when you're in the ACC and with all the players you're playing against.
Without a doubt. It's not an easy league to have to start from scratch. And you look at programs like Syracuse, Boston College, they've had to find out the hard way. Very few people are what Randy Waldrum can do and just come in, invigorate a Pitt program. I think which makes that even more impressive. Just the ability of player that he's been able to bring in, the game-changing ability of an Amanda West, who then goes down with an injury. And then Samaya Fury and Landry Mertz come in, and Shapansky, they don't miss a beat. And so the stories in the ACC have been just phenomenal, but it's an unforgiving conference, Morgan, and it's only going to get harder when you add Stanford, when you add Cal, SMU. It's just, it feels like it's murderer's row.
It's going to be interesting when we already talk about the ACC having the most teams when it comes to postseason making to the NCAA tournament. I think that will stand for a very, very long time when you look at the level of competition that's entering.
How good was that ball? Full field switch right into the path of McIntyre. Onto her right foot. Tried to cut it back, Miami reading it perfectly. 1v1 defense. And now Small. Just dribbling it out to the corner flag. She can taste the 3 points.
1 minute remains in regulation. 1 minute.
1 minute to play now. Morgan, what's impressed you most about this Wake team? What do you want to see from them as they move into Sunday and they begin postseason play?
I'm impressed with their ability to regroup at halftime and come out and be different. What do they have to improve on? Starting from the first whistle, because when it comes to ACC, their ACC tournament opponent, they are not going to be able to slowly play their way into the game. The level will be higher, and they can easily be punished quickly. But then when you look on the flip side, I am impressed with the way Miami is playing till this final whistle. That last build-up from Wake before the ball went to the corner, it's Delaney Brown getting into a hard tackle, playing in her last couple minutes, still fighting to keep the ball out of the back of the net. And that's what stands out the most to me about Miami. That's how they play as a team.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4,
And so as the final whistle blows, Tony DeLuz can take a sigh of relief. Now time for tonight's Worth a Watch.